As Kennedy tries to gain momentum from this announcement this afternoon, President Biden's campaign is ramping up efforts to attract minority voters before his election showdown with former President Trump in November. The campaign launched ads engaging black voters in battleground states and also announced a program to appeal to Latino voters. And the move comes as some black and Latino voters turn away from the Democratic Party. A new poll found less than 40% of young black voters are actually planning to head to the polls this November. Lindsey Granger is with us, journalist and NewsNation contributor. Thank you for being here. Are these efforts too little too late by the Biden campaign to address the black voter concerns?
Well, I think it certainly was a wake-up call because now we know that we're in general election season and it's going to be Trump against Biden. And I think that black voters, like you said, and Latino voters are not so much saying that they have chosen another side or chosen another candidate like RFK that you just spoke about, but they're saying that they want people to show and prove. They're saying that they might be exhausted and disillusioned by the lack of activity that's been done and candidates not using their full social and political capital to actually make major things that are promised on the campaign trail happen. And I think it's going to take getting out in those communities, speaking to young people, having conversations, even about things that we might consider small as a little bit of an older generation like TikTok, having real conversations about people with people that it affects and that use that every single day and doing more than just running campaigns on some of the black networks, but also getting out there and touching the community and going to places that are swing states like, Georgia, Pennsylvania, even going to South Carolina and really taking time to get to know why people have been so, what they say, let down by your campaign and your presidency.
Right. And this didn't happen overnight. How long has this apathy been going on?
Well, I think people are just frustrated by the economy. And I know that Biden has a lot that he can talk about what's been going on with the economy. He has dropped unemployment numbers since he came into office, and he has made effective change for certain groups of colors. But I think that people want to know what the overarching message for 2024 is. What do you exactly plan to do? And I think a lot of people of color specifically view economic prosperity as a way forward. So how are you laying out those things that you can do and policies that you will implement immediately? And use all of your power to make sure that there are changes in these communities. So I think it's been going on for all of the presidency because there was a huge idea that, hey, we're going to not vote for Trump knowing that he comes with a lot of baggage. But now he has $71 million that are raised in campaign funds at the end of February and, almost double his counterpart. And people want to know how he's going to use it to actually get out and understand what his main core voter base that's been with him consistently and also Democrats consistently are going to do.
We're talking a lot about Biden, but we're looking at some of the numbers, polling numbers for former President Trump. What has he done to address the black and Latino vote successfully, given that he has a lot of legal distractions right now?
Right. So I was saying he has way less money to spend on addressing these things because he has a black hole of legal fees that he's paying right now. But he's went and talked to the conservative organizations and spoken. And I think that he's actually done some missteps that we discussed with the way that he addresses the community and doing things like buying or representing a brand of sneakers that people call the Trump Force Ones and thinking that that's a way to get in touch with the black community. I think that a lot of people understand there are many layers to what black people need and look for success. There are tax breaks and different things that you can implement, lowering capital gains taxes, for example, that would affect black people. And I think people want to have conversations, real conversations outside of sneakers or outside of going and, making jokes while you're speaking on the campaign trail, but actually saying, not that one candidate, you're better than that one candidate and that's what you're running on. Say what you're going to do and how you're going to make changes and what you're promised and going to actually complete and make it a priority day one of your presidency.
Yeah, tell me what the future looks like. Important for every voting bloc. Lindsey Granger, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.